I have carefully considered whether or not to make this video. I'm not going to say I never intended to make it. I'm not a liar. In fact, as you're about to find out, I could have made it 2 years ago. But I know this topic is one that will continue to come up if I don't lay everything out in one place. And believe it or not, it's still going. So for that reason, today we're talking about a creator who most of the time presents herself as a concerned friend, trying to help her fellow GachaTubers improve their works and reach what is, in her mind, a more enlightened path. But every now and then reveals herself to be the over-righteous, contradictory hypocrite that she truly is. A person willing to tug on the heartstrings of vulnerable, sensitive people until they feel a superiority complex so grand that she once compared herself to God. Today, we're talking about Maddie's life, or Maddie's Extra, or as I first knew her, Maddie's Gacha. A little background before we begin. Some of this may not seem relevant at first, but I'll bring it all up in due time. On November 1st, 2020, the YouTuber Flowerpot1300, better known as Eli, introduced the world to the Jazz Pops, a derivative gacha series based on the series Super Pops by Totally TV. At first, this seemed like your average fan-inspired series, and it was. That is until Wipeout and RenaFan14, better known as Johnny, showed up, asking to create his own series set within the same universe as Jazz Pops. Thus, Disco Pops and the multiverse I like to call the franchise was born. In 2022, I started reviewing some Disco Pops, and checked out a couple of other things Johnny's channel had to offer. Back then, Johnny used to stream his creation process live on the same channel, whenever he was working on a new video. This was also a good chance to interact with him, both in and out of character, depending on whether you want to speak to the characters or not. Not only that, but when he was developing a then new series by the name of Ballroom Pops, it was fantastic to be there offering suggestions for characters and plot points. And I wasn't the only one who thought so. I believe it was November 11th, 2022, during a Ballroom Pop stream on Johnny's channel, where I met Maddie's Dolls and Fairy Tales for the first time. And immediately, things went very wrong. Johnny and Maddie greeted themselves normally, asking how each other was doing. Maddie at this time was very upset and seemed uncomfortable with one of her real-life friends. By the sounds of things, the friend had recently come out as transgender, a fact that did not sit well with hyper-Christian Maddie. I, of course, wasn't about to stand for someone trying to seek sympathy for their bigotry, but was unable to confront her much since Johnny closed the stream soon after. Unfortunately, the original Wipeout and RenaFan14 channel was terminated by YouTube. We'll get to the reason why in a little bit. So because of that, I don't have a way to get all the screenshots. Fortunately, at the time, I had enough foresight to save one image and use it during the following day's Gacha review episode as a cover-up to confront her directly. So yeah, thanks by the way, Maddie, for confirming who you actually were prior to this video, because actually this came from the previous stream that we were actually in, where we started a conversation where you apparently were saying something about like your friends thinking she's a boy, and then like your own words, and then when I asked you about like this, and said, oh, what, you know, you randomly just mentioned like transgender people. So I asked again, and you say, I'm a Christian, and we Christians go by the Bible. We hate what God hates, and we love what God loves. I'm so glad you can actually write in YouTube chats. Your grammar is surprisingly way better when you're hating on a communities than when you're actually portraying it and trying to tell an actual story. And also, so it seems a bit weird that, you know, you have this variety where you can actually have people express themselves through their uniform choices in different color schemes, but yet you seem to hate on people expressing themselves with their own gender identities, and in your own words seem to just be nice to them because God tells you to be nice to everyone. So which one is it? Full video in the description. Skip to about this timestamp for the clip and the 20 minutes of aftermath. Unfortunately, even though Maddie was there towards the beginning of the video, she still left before its conclusion, meaning she wasn't there to see it live and apparently didn't watch the replay. I say apparently because of what happened next. November 12th, 2022 was a Saturday, so on Wednesday, November 16th, I summarized the whole situation in Walking Wednesday 108, which used to be called Exposing Maddie's Gacha for Transphobia. That is where Maddie realized what had happened and responded. Again, those comments are gone now, except for one reply to a comment made by Eli, trying to take a bit of a neutral stance, as she's friends with both of us to this day. Maddie's myriad of comments where she kept asking me why I took such an issue with her have also been deleted, even though I was extremely clear both times. Seriously, check out The Walking Wednesday and tell me if you think I wasn't obvious enough. Also, at one point, she dedicated 6 videos to me back in the day, most of which were text-based with Christian music in the background, quoting the same Bible passage to justify her actions. Why is all of that gone? Not because of the backlash. Far from it. She's such an expert on making herself look like the victim that just by expressing how sad she is, her friends and followers flocked to give her support. It was actually because, allegedly, she made peace with the trans friend from before and could potentially learn to accept him, and therefore my point of view.
And also, they didn't respect how I'm straight and how I don't like LGBT, honestly.
Our last interaction ended with her asking if she could one day tell me about Jesus, which I was all for. While this never ended up happening, I still thought that was as good a resolution as the pair of us could reach. For some of my friends, particularly the LGBTQ+ ones, this wasn't enough, but I was ready to bury the hatchet and move on. Unless, of course, something else went wrong in the future. To catch everyone up to speed, on September 21st, 2023, YouTube deleted the Wipeout and Refan 14 channel, and for a couple of weeks, no one really knew why. Johnny himself, of course, appealed to YouTube in all the ways he could think of, but I then never got a proper response, or it wasn't clear enough. We all know how these things go. While waiting, many fans of the channel, myself included, offered some theories as to what might have been the cause. Problematic elements in disco pops? Well, by this point I could pretty much vouch that wasn't the case. Excessive copyrighted material? Still no. That would have also affected my myriad of reviews. That weird glitch where YouTube banned emote spamming? No, that was for the spammers themselves, not the channel. In any case, Johnny pretty immediately began posting revival series on an alt account he had already made, which was now his main channel. This is where Maddie re-enters the picture. On September 30th, in the comments of the second episode of Disco Pop's Revival, Maddie offered a suggestion of her own, that the original channel was banned because the videos contained sadness. Sadness. Now, when I first read this, I thought she might have been referring to what I often said on Gacha Review, that the way that Johnny handled the characters getting sad was too extreme. It was as if no matter what terrible situation someone might be in, i.e. captured by the enemy, about to be robbed, blasted away, or whatever situation you can imagine for the superhero genre, everything took a back seat until the characters could cheer up. I basically told Johnny that the priority was wrong, and that sadness shouldn't be the main theme in most individual episodes I review. At no point did I imply that no one should ever get sad at all. And even though Maddie seemed to be implying that YouTube itself had an issue with that, which they don't, I gave Maddie the benefit of the doubt because she's not usually, let's say, the most eloquent of people. She could have just phrased herself poorly. I should have remembered that, since Maddie and I avoid each other's content, there was almost no way she was aiding my point. For the record, I did reply to her at the time expressing my doubts, but this proved unnecessary. Johnny figured out soon after that his channel had been reported, most likely because of the potentially mean comments he'd left for people with different opinions on some shows he likes. Maddie seemed to think this made sense, and commented,
"Yeah, you should be okay with their opinions of the shows they like. And it's okay if they don't like that show. You just have to be okay with it. You cannot force them to like the shows, or being mean to them. I'm not a huge fan of those shows, and it's okay if you like it because you like those shows. But some people may not like it, and it's their opinion. It's okay to have an opinion on something. And that's actually a good reason to why your channel got reported, which is understandable. You still need to be okay with opinions, but that doesn't mean I'm not sorry. I'm sorry that your channel got reported."
That part about everyone being allowed an opinion would eventually come back to haunt, but at least at the time, it seemed like the matter was resolved. From this, a rational person might conclude that if the issue was mean comments, that therefore the sadness presented in Johnny's Gacha series would not be a problem. Oh wait, we're not dealing with a rational person, are we? We're dealing with Maddie's Gacha. Finally, we reach April 10th, 2024, roughly 6 months after the sadness comment. Johnny posted a poll which read as follows. Hey guys, so you probably know by now, my characters get sad a lot in the episodes, which has extra Maddie concerned. I'm down to 3 options for this. I either 1. Cancel the Gacha projects, 2. Get rid of all the sad characters and replace them with happier characters, or 3. Just continue with them and ignore Maddie's concerns. Which one should I do? Now, in case it's not apparent by now, despite being featured on Gacha Review for 2 years, Johnny was, and remains to this day, a very sensitive person. One carefully structured sentence is enough to make him question his entire artistic integrity and self-worth, and Maddie knows that. When I first saw this, I instantly thought back to the warnings Maddie issued in September. I then took 2 important actions. The first was me reiterating what I said in part 3, that the issue I had was how the sadness was executed, not that it existed in the first place. The second was to read through the replies. Maddie had been tagged, so did she have anything else to say?
Sorry, Johnny. Didn't make you sad. I want you to continue them, still have sadness in them, but less sadness. Do you know what I mean? Just wondering. And please don't say ignore Maddie's concerns, okay? Because that does make me feel uncomfortable. And also, if you ignore me, that is also ignoring God, and that's not good, Johnny. That is why it is important to trust in God, and always trust in him no matter what. And also, I don't like being mentioned in a bad way, okay?
I'm sorry, excuse me? Maddie being an ultra-Christian was old news by this point, but to elevate her own status so high that she directly compares herself to God? What? Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for water. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves. Otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which mortals had built. The Lord said,
"Look, they are one people, and they all have one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do now will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there, so that they will not understand one another's speech."
So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. Now, you can maybe say that the Tower of Babel was a mere monument to the power of mortals, but the way I was taught it when I went to a Catholic school was that the aim was to build up to the heavens themselves to be on the same level as God. In either interpretation, it doesn't seem like God is exactly happy about humans putting themselves on his level. Wait, did you just use the Lord's name in vain? Yes. That's against the 10 Commandments, isn't it? Screw the 10 Commandments, my dad's a pastor. Maddie. You shouldn't have done that. And since I'm the only person who ever called her out directly, my second important action was to reply to this heinous display of narcissism. You have got to be kidding me. How is ignoring you ignoring God exactly? Did you become a prophet and we just didn't realize? Does God condemn the depiction of suffering? Because I thought that was tied to the original sin. Even without that, Johnny is perfectly entitled to ignore your concerns if he wants to. In fact, if given the choice between ignoring someone's criticism and making 6 separate videos fishing for sympathy after being called out, maybe you should have done the same if you didn't like what I said back in the day. If you're not prepared for people not to like you, I'm not sure why you're trying to offer advice. If you think you're helping someone, then go for it. But don't equate your own word to that of God or make them feel bad for sticking to their own guns. At the time, I thought that pretty much covered it. Try to help people if you want, but don't get a big head about it, or think you have to be correct because of your religion. Very simple to understand, I think, and in response to this comment, I received nothing. Yeah, nothing. I never replied to this very direct call-out. Of course, she's in her right to do that. After all, one of the first pieces of advice you get given on the internet is to not listen to the hate comments. I thought nothing of it until she decided to go after KW. Backtracking for a second, I mentioned that I wasn't the only one who responded to Johnny. Here's KW's comment on the matter.
Have emotions! Please, all good stories have so much emotions. Please don't grade up sadness. Have so much emotions! Don't listen to Maddie, Johnny. You're doing great. As much as we nitpick things, we enjoy what you do. Please have more emotions than happiness in your stories. You're not ignoring God. God will want you to feel all your emotions. Hiding your feelings is not okay. If you want sadness in your story, then do so. I'm not a Christian anymore, but I do know for a fact you're allowed to have all sorts of emotions and feelings. Your series will make it more realistic to people if you add emotions. So please don't listen to Maddie and do what you love. Making stories, add emotions, add character development. If Maddie hates it, then she needs to move on. She needs to wake up and realize that everyone can't be happy 24/7 because of life. She's crazy to think humans can be happy all the time.
Perhaps the beginning sentence was the key. Don't listen to Maddie. She didn't like that. No, siree. Unlike me, she decided to respond to the person who wasn't even directly talking to.
I have wisdom teeth surgery, and I agree with you, but God is awesome. And please don't say that to me, please. I'm a special needs kid. I have DiGeorge syndrome, and my mum said the same thing as I did. So, yeah. So please don't tell me what to do. I'm 19 years old, and also, I do not hate his videos. His videos are great.
Right, let's break this down. Firstly, for context, Maddie was about to go to a dental appointment when this stuff went down. So she meant to say, I've just had wisdom teeth surgery. As for the DiGeorge syndrome quote, the best guess I can make as to why she brought that up out of the blue was because she wanted people to feel like she was being attacked unfairly for having a condition that we didn't know she had. I almost thought maybe she was trying to use it as a reason that she wouldn't know better than to criticize Johnny in the way she did, but that doesn't make sense, because if she thought that she could have been wrong, she wouldn't have tried to double down in this very poll thread. Not to mention, she brings up her mum agreeing with her, as if that matters in the slightest, but then immediately states she's 19 in a manner that implies that she wants to be taken seriously as a free-thinking adult. Well, free-thinking adults don't usually bring up their parents' opinions in the same way a 5-year-old would go, my mummy says you're wrong, so take that. So, which one is it, Maddie? I'll go into a little more detail about DiGeorge syndrome in a moment. But first, let's hear what KW thought about the whole ordeal.
Hey everyone, KW here, and I just want to clear things up of how this sort of event happens. It did almost make a angry, vent sort of kind of comment at Maddie in the comments of the community post, but because it disappeared or vanished, I went to try and talk to Johnny because I wasn't sure if I did have his DMs or not because it's been a while. Luckily now I know that I do, and so that's where I'm gonna chat with him from now on. I mentioned him 3 times. One its own comment in the community post saying, hey, please add emotions. I even voted. The second comment was in the Pops video that he did that had the whole less sadness thing and everything to say you can have emotions and whatever. I did mention Maddie's name in there and talking about the fact I don't think she knows what she's saying as a Christian because I have met Christian people and they never really talk like she does. I'm even a actual Christian and I never really talk like that or whatever. And then the last comment I put in is in the community post in the long comment thread because I thought that's where Johnny most likely going to respond more, and hopefully I can help him from there. And then of course I also mentioned my same. I think hey, you should probably just ignore what she says and everything like that if you feel like you need to. You know, you add emotions and stuff like that. And then she did reply to me because I was planning to ignore her and let me know that she has a syndrome, she was getting her wisdom teeth done, and then she said her age. And so I was really confused, why is she telling me this and everything like that? Does she think I'm attacking her? I'm just sharing my opinions, free speech and all that. So I went to say something similar. I said, well, I have depression, I have autism, and I have anxiety. Didn't reveal my age because I don't really necessarily care about whether or not I reveal my age. That's what's the point in that? Let her know that she said she agrees with my opinions. So I was like, okay, if you agree with my opinions, then you should know for a fact that we should feel sadness and Johnny is okay to add sadness and stuff like that. You know, if you don't like my opinions or whatever, then move on. I even said I think I'm an ex-Christian, and I have a friend who is also a Christian, and they haven't told me that God is awesome, God is good and perfect, because they know I have different opinions and everything. We always talk about that sort of stuff and everything when I'm not a Christian and they are, you know? So there's that. I don't know why she came at me, to be honest. And she'd been trying to reply to me so many times and everything like that, that I ended up muting her. And then when she messaged me like one more time, it's like, I'm going to ignore you. And then other stuff happens, which I'm gonna let Jacob talk about it. So there you go.
So originally, we read some of these comments live as they happened while I was streaming. I ended up looking up DiGeorge syndrome to understand why on earth she brought it up. Originally, I was going to play the extract from the stream where I read off the NHS page, but it turns out Maddie herself made at least 2 videos on the subject. The first is on the Maddie's Gacha channel, called Please Watch This Is Important, where it looks like she talks about it for the first time. Just for the record, I could be wrong, I haven't combed every inch of her 6 channels. She doesn't talk about the general symptoms, but does outline a couple of ways it affects her personally. For example, difficulty explaining videos, following movies, following her dad's preaching, and likely some more. I'm not bringing any of that up to tear her down further, with the one exception of that last point. Trust me, we'll get to that later. I bring it up for the sake of context for the second video. Because of Maddie's tendency to delete negative comments, or pressure others into deleting them, this next bit is going to be mostly guesswork, so here's my disclaimer for that. In any case, the second video, called This Is Not a Joke, was uploaded 6 months later, on April 7th, 2024, on the Maddie's Extra channel. It seems like some people believe she was lying about having DiGeorge syndrome in the first place. Possibly those comments started from the video 6 months ago. That's where the guessing part comes in. This video is a bit more substantial. She gives a more general overview of what DiGeorge syndrome entails, and urges people not to tell us using a sympathy card or playing the victim. Which, hold on a second. 4 days after telling people she's not playing the victim for having DiGeorge syndrome, she brings up having DiGeorge syndrome when a complete stranger to her calls her out on her nonsense. I don't know about you, but that seems like playing a victim to me. Little update after I wrote this section originally. I was going to talk about this later, but I posted a poll of my own asking whether or not I should release this very video, and Maddie again brings up DiGeorge syndrome as a defense for her actions. This did not go down very well. Several people, mostly neurodivergent themselves, were outraged that she was once again using this as a defense. KW even said, both in the original poll and the new one, that she does her best to take accountability and never use the conditions that she has to excuse her behavior negatively impacting others. In fact, she told me later that Maddie's constant reliance on DiGeorge syndrome makes her fear that she may have inadvertently done the same in the past. And bear in mind, Maddie rarely at me and didn't reply to my original comments because she knew how things would go down with me. But as of writing this, she was arguing with people in the poll comments, including KW. A further update from a week later. In my review episode of Flaming Thieves: The Spirit Academy episode 9, about 2.5 hours in, I think, KW and Ghost Kitty both said this.
I'm surprised that she haven't commented on a comment that, because like a Blossom Valley video I came out yesterday talking about how I had a panic attack about Jacob's Communicals because I keep getting attacked by like Josh and Maddie because I was just saying my own opinions and they're getting mad at me for saying my own opinions and everything like that. I even talk about more in details in the comment section to pen and everything, just let everyone know, saying, yeah, the video will come in soon. I'm surprised she hasn't found that comment and being like, no, I never attacked you. How dare you? Attacking people is a sin.
Maddie is more than happy to claim she's been unfairly attacked for her beliefs and opinions, but continues to dogpile on similarly vulnerable people when they're actually trying to be civilized, and more often than not, when they're being a lot nicer than I am. And to be clear, neither KW, nor Ghost Kitty, nor myself believe she's lying about her condition, but to bring it up as if it gives some sort of leeway in a situation that had nothing to do with it, is among the scummiest tactics I've seen firsthand. I know this one author who suffered horrendous abuse at the hands of her first husband and endured not insubstantial poverty when she left him, having only her creative works and her infant daughter as a light in her dreary existence. Once said creative works hit the mainstream, She at one point went on to found at least 3 separate charities with a particular focus on helping impoverished children, using sometimes 100% of literary proceeds, depending on the title in question. I say I've heard of her. You know of her too. Her name is J.K. Rowling. Our past traumas and tribulations do not justify our current actions or how we express them. I said as much in the pinned comment of the video.
And that's why I made this video, because other people might think I'm trying to play the victim, which I have to be careful what I say also, so that way other people won't think I'm lying, because it can be really bad if people think that.
The irony. It seems as he thinks that people can't just look up rare syndromes on Google and lie about them, that they have to have them, otherwise they wouldn't know about them in order to lie. Well, guess what? I've heard of Siren Amelia. I don't have it. So if someone wants to lie about a condition, it's very easy. But again, I don't think Maddie's lied about that. So let's see what she has lied about. Since we're talking about lies here, I'll be honest. I wasn't quite sure how to start this segment. I had multiple contradictions of hers prepared, such as her own admission that she could never be a preacher, despite spending the last week attempting to do precisely that, albeit on a micro level. I think the best place to start, for the sake of this video's pacing, is after her apology. I forgot to mention this earlier, but before that happened, she managed to get Johnny to take down the poll that started it all.
I made a post, Johnny. Maybe you can make a post and apologize to me because Jacob is attacking me again.
Maddie caught wind that my new Walking Wednesday video would be about her, as Walking Wednesday series is about summarizing the most important events of the preceding week, and she panicked, immediately offering up an apology for her actions as an attempt to stop me from making that video.
Jacob, I am sorry. I wasn't trying to make Johnny feel uncomfortable. I was only trying to help him. I said sorry to Johnny multiple times. Can we stop this drama, please? I really want to stop the drama. And I didn't mean to be rude to you. I was just frustrated and in hospital, and
She didn't know that I was actually biding my time until this video was ready, but either way. When I opened up my own poll after Walking Wednesday, I did so for 2 main reasons. The obvious one was to give people back the place where they could voice their opinions, because, unlike Johnny, I couldn't be so easily pressured to take the poll down. But the second reason was because I knew this would force Maddie's hand. While I didn't encourage or police any responses or arguments from commenters, I knew that Maddie would at least read them, and knowing that the public opinion was still against her, she would eventually have to try to come after me. As of writing this script and recording this segment, I haven't made a single comment on the poll. Maddie's only option to make herself look good now would be to come after my credibility instead, and since she's got 0 evidence against me, everything would have to be fabricated. She fell for my trap, hook, line, and sink. Not long after the poll, she posted her own community post, which read,
just a quick question. Why do you guys trust Jacob? I'm not hating on you guys, I'm just wondering. And telling me not to talk bad about Jacob. I know it isn't right, but he talked bad about me first for no reason. I'm just trying to protect you guys. I don't trust Jacob, my parents don't trust him, so why do you guys then? It literally makes no sense whatsoever. I've done nothing to him. Honestly, when I first met him, I was trying to be nice until he turned on me and called me out. And second, I was helping out with the Wipeout and Jacob butted in for no reason and blaming me and made a video about me. And then now he's making fun of my adoption. I mean, other people are adopted too other than me, so I do not get that. If you guys still want to be friends with him, fine. But I'm warning you, he might turn on you too. He even called Eli's jazz pops weird. That's why I don't trust him. I'm not trying to talk bad about him, I have feelings too. Can you do me a favour, please? Next time when he uploads a video and talks bad about me behind my back, can you guys say something, please? Like, that wasn't very nice about Maddie, or maybe please don't talk bad about behind people's backs. It's you guys' choice, if you still want to be friends with him. Because I'm not going to force you guys, it's not my place. I'm just warning you guys that he might do something terrible to you guys. And I care so much about you guys that I don't want anything bad to happen. I like for who you are. You. God made you. He made you to have choices. He died on the cross for our sins. He rose from the dead on the 3rd day. And I agree with Eli and Iris. The Bible says love your enemy and repay him with love and good instead of evil. But I'm not the one who should be told that. You guys should probably tell Jacob that. Because it's his doing first, not mine. So please respect me.
Okay. In order. No, I did not talk bad about Maddie for no reason. I made my reasons very clear both in 2022 and now. I literally don't know how to make things easier to understand. I won't go over it again because that's what parts 1 and 2 of this video are for. And if Maddie wasn't aware of why I talked bad about her, she wouldn't have apologized twice now. Josh also reported on one of my live streams that she admitted to her fault. The live stream in question was my review of Rare episode 3, which aired only a day before this post. So that's lie number 1 in this post. Secondly, she did do something to me. She made 6 videos responding to me, one of which is still visible to this day and was probably only kept because it doesn't mention me by name. She also got Josh, our mutual friend, to do her dirty work and try to get me to back off making this video. And in this very poll, defamed my character by making it seem like I targeted her for being a pastor's daughter and later made fun of her for being adopted. I'll elaborate further on that last point in a moment, but for now, lie number 2. Thirdly, I wouldn't call what I did to her turning on her. I asked her one question at the end of a Johnny stream and she responded. I couldn't have turned on her as I was never on her side to begin with. It's not like we were ever friends before that, as if I'd ever want a friend like her anyway. Lie number 3. Back to the adoption thing. Maddie is referring to an incident which happened the day before. Remember that Rare episode 3 live stream? Well, I brought up a comment she made on the original video 30 minutes in and showed it at 31:27. Okay, yeah, this was the comment, by the way, just for the record. It was something to do. Mary's parents are like my parents. I'm also to my parents, so sweet. I like my parents. So yeah, nothing to do with anything. That's just so it seems like I guess random spoiler. Dylan's gonna end up going to the sleepover. I don't know. Who would have guessed from this setup? But yeah, we're gonna meet Mary's parents. Apparently.
I'm just gonna say, like, when she was like, my parents doesn't want you to be part of it, stuff and I am an adult, treat me like an adult. But when she
this is
like
KW referring to the fact that Maddie uses her parents' opinion as if
that matters
at all.
Yeah. I don't know who her parents are. Do you think I would care about what your parents think of me? Like,
treat me like an adult. I'm a disabled kid, and my life is hard.
And I'm 19. I don't understand.
Man.
Like,
which one do you want to be treated as?
Yeah, treat me like an adult. Also, my dad says you suck. Like what? Which one?
Treat me like an adult, but also I'm a disabled child, and if you treat me wrong, you're ableist. Which one are you then, man? Are you a disabled child or a full-grown adult who can make their own decisions?
I literally told Aiden that she's literally acting like a 5-year-old who didn't get the ice cream they wanted at an ice cream shop.
Later on, we actually meet the parent characters Maddie was talking about. And given that I know Maddie has described her parents in the past as the nicest parents ever, and the parents in the video seem decidedly mean to the main character, I brought up the comment again an hour and 27 minutes into the stream, to further reinforce how unreliable nearly everything Maddie says actually is.
Hey man, play the game, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
My friends. He's the guy who got lost going to school, right? Like the guy who got confused.
Yeah.
My goodness, why are these parents just, again, so, like, why do they have to tear this guy down, both of them? Like, I thought it was going to be dad humor at first, but they both just seem to be like, oh yeah, that's the guy who told us all these terrible things about, let me repeat them to his face. Like, my goodness, and these are the like, adorable parents we are promised? Did we get lied to again? Like, what is going on? Now, even ignoring the fact I barely say anything about Maddie herself in the video, does it sound like I or anyone else made fun of Maddie's adoption at any point in the video? Well, unfortunately, after reading the post, people believed it. So she literally spread misinformation about me and it negatively damaged my reputation. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that's a form of libel, aka a criminal offense. But what I can say for sure is that it's lie number 4. I especially love how she follows up her fear-mongering by warning people I might do something terrible to them. Terrible like what? Make a video about them? Man, someone better stop me now. I'm clearly out of control. I also must clearly not know other people are adopted, other than Maddie, as she implies here. Well, guess what, Maddie? I do know other people are adopted too. After all, I should. Because I'm one of them. I think I've made my point, but the discussion continued. KW replied to Eli to undo the misinformation about me, which Maddie did not like one bit. I think the only thing worth remarking here, other than Maddie mentioned her friend Katie/Cadence for no reason, is that we encounter yet another recurring lie, that she doesn't act like a child. Maddie wants us all to know she is 19 years old, and is therefore sufficiently mature to be above such triviality, except she clearly isn't. Look at these messages between the pair of them.
Because he doesn't tell you why you're wrong and just always believes you. He's a person pleaser. He always has been, because when I first met him, he always tried to say that some gacha stories are really good when really that's not true. He needs to realize that you're wrong and that you're lying and acting like a child because of what people have voted. Do you see why we don't trust you at all? Because you keep missing everything and turn it into something it's not. And you just proved that you're acting like a child. And yes, you're lying. You did compare yourself to God by saying that to ignore you is to ignore God. You said you didn't, but you did.
Your face looks like a child. I'm 19. I know what a child acts like. You should think before speaking. When I first met Jacob, I was trying to be nice until he turned on me, and now Jacob is using my friends. Not cool, dude. Not cool. Your face acts like a child.
It's supposed to be a rose? That was poor, and who cares what Cadence says? Don't really care. Just trying to help you understand that what you said was a lie about Jacob. Don't believe me? Then look at the comment I said why I trust Jacob. To be honest, I feel like it's useless though, since you seem not to care what I have to say, which is sad. I thought you would be open-minded and understanding. I was planning to try to give you another chance, but I guess you proved me wrong. There's really no hope for you to change, is there? By the way, if you don't care about Jacob or what he has to say, then why make a post about it? Doesn't really make sense to me.
I was trying to roast you, but honestly, what you said, how does my face look like a child, was actually pretty funny the way you said it. Oh man, Kaden will love this.
Later in this thread, we can see she finally lies about comparing herself to God, which we covered earlier. But the best part is the ending.
The reason why I'm acting like this, because if it weren't for you guys butting into Johnny and I's private conversation, this would never happen. Private? It was on a community tab. Where's the privacy, bro?
Private conversation. Private conversation? Maddie, do you know the meaning of community posts? If you wanted to talk to Johnny privately, you would have DM'd him, like anyone else would. A public thread on a YouTube channel is about as opposite to private as one can get. You ask everyone why they should trust me? Well, based on everything I've just laid out, why should anyone trust you? Look at the counter and at how many times you've lied to your friends and to your community, all to make yourself look like the better person. KW's right, you don't seem to be prepared to change. I'm relieved I didn't accept your apology this time round. Speaking of KW, I'd just like to thank her and Ghost Kitty for how helpful they've been. While I've been silently getting along with everything, as well as dealing with driver's theory, practical lessons, Pixel Month, and other things pretty much every day, they've been directly dealing with Maddie for weeks at the expense of their own mental health, just to help me out. Unlike Maddie to Eli, I didn't try to guilt her subtly by asking why she allows me to do something that's not in her control to stop. Unlike Maddie to her parents, or to this Cadence person who never came after anyone, I didn't turn to them to try to get people on my side. I didn't need to. That's just what friends do. So please go support both of them. I know the description has a lot of links, but it's definitely worth it. Thank you. I almost forgot to mention that when she eventually did comment directly to me, back in the Johnny poll, she accused me of saying she didn't deserve to be in this world. This is a lie. What I actually said was that she wasn't living in the real world. Even if she didn't know it was an expression, which she accepted immediately and tried to flip it against me, she somehow twisted what I said into including words that mean something entirely different, purely to make it seem like I advocate for self-deletion. Another clear defamation of character. And yet, there are those who claim she doesn't try to manipulate situations for her own gain. Then again, some are at least able to realize this eventually.